Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to the Future History Project. And today is book 3 of the Robot City Robots and Aliens, a book published in 1990 called Intruder and written by Robert Thurston. We're back to sort of normal with the characters of Derek and Ariel, and names as well for Ariel. The one oddity, though, what is that it started out. I'm not sure whether it was in the very first book in this series, but we were finding out that they're actually teenagers. Like they're maybe 18 years old or 17 years old. In the first series, Robot City, it wasn't said, but it was implied that they were older. But oh well, okay. They're teenagers, and they're on their way back to the main robot city. And Derek is Kempfret's. He sort of lost contact with the central computer, and he's starting to have some dreams, and he in the city, empty, and then his father, Dr. Averill, shows up. And he's quite disconcerted about it, and then he starts dreaming about his mother. They land, and yeah, there's no robots. It's sort of a dead city, but they do meet a robot that is a tap dancer. And then they meet another one that his name is Bogey, as in the actor. As in Humphrey Bogart, but he's watched all these old films, and he's picked up the language of everything, and he calls Derek Kiddo. It's very bizarre, but they know that somebody has done something to the city, and they've got to find out. So Derek finally makes his way down to the central computer, and it's covered in like a moss-like growth, and he can't access anything. But he is making a little inroads with getting a few things back online, the personals, the toilets, and the food. But they find a little group of literally little humans, or looking like little humans, that they first see them dancing around a campfire in an empty lot, and they all proceed to die. And Adam and Eve I forgot to say, but Adam and Eve have come back with them, as well as Mandelbrot and Woolruff. And Eve is very taken by them. And while they die, there are a group that are burying them, but they die too quickly, and there's dozens or hundreds of bodies of these little people are around. Dr. Avery takes one of them to sort of dissect and to look at, but it's decomposing very quickly. But Eve buries all the rest, and then they actually find some more of this group in a building, and they're on a desktop, and Adam and Eve take the desk to where Ariel is, and they study them, but they age very quickly over a few days, and they all die. And as they die, Eve takes them and buries them, and they find this very odd for her to do this, but she sort of thinks of them as humans because they were doing this ritual, so she just is continuing to do it. Dr. Avery's gone off his nut, as you would say. He thinks he's a robot, and it's a bit bizarre. It's Ariel sort of shocks him back into reality by getting Eve and Adam to morph into him. It's very, very odd. It's just sort of it's rickety. Let's put it that way. And the whole thing of these little beings are very odd. Um, and it turns out that there is a being that has been doing all this and has sort of been doing experiments, and there's many experiments of creatures that is created, and they mentioned a few. And there's other ones, but they're pretty well all short lived, and don't obviously live for very long. And Averill Dr. Avery wants to locate, or wants to dissect one of these little humanoid things. He thinks they're robots, and they actually are. They're sort of a genetic code, but with robot chips in them, and they're just sort of low grade robots, and have a very short life cycle. So Derek and Avery, Dr. Avery, his father, team up, and Dr. Avery's theory is that this creature that is doing all this to the city is another robot like Adam and Eve. And he's convinced that it's his ex-wife, Derek's mother, that's doing it, which is all correct. But they're just sort of, leaps at logic. Not even logic, but leaps. And they happen to be correct. And so obviously they thwart the other robot, who doesn't think he's a robot. And then Adam and Eve sort of, find it and, say that you're one of us. And it morphs into something that's sort of like Derek and Dr. Avery. And they walk off and sort of work things out, possibly. And everybody is sort of a little concerned because these three robots now don't know what they are. They question whether Derek, Ariel, and Dr. Avery are human, and because they want to find humans, but they seem to throw their allegiance with anybody who is sort of smarter than humans, as it was on the previous planet, the Black Bodies. It's kind of an interesting thing, and I like the way the characters are. Not so much Adam, because Adam has a little more history, and they're making him very similar to Eve. Eve has this. There's an interesting quality to the character of Eve, because she's an upstart. She's sort of mouthy in many ways, but a robot, but questioning things. It gets excited about things, and also, and these are all emotions, and she shouldn't have these. And Derek has these too, but he's sort of has the more experience and is guiding her a little bit, but he still has this, and he feels that he's being shut out, and he feels a bit lonely as well, and because the other humans are give more attention to Eve. But it's an interesting dichotomy there. But and I'm curious to see where they're going to take this. In the essay at the beginning of the book, it's Asimov talking about, well, what is a human, and how can a robot know what a human is? Is it just by looks? But what if there's different shade of skin color? What if it speaks differently, or does speaks a different language? And he goes through all these permeations, and these are the sort of the troubles that Adam and Eve are having. They don't know, well, first of all, who they are, what their potential is, and they don't know what a real human is. And because they're programmed to find and follow human, but the program is missing the fact of what to define a human, and they're struggling, and they're just sort of, and the implication is they're just sort of learning. They want experiences, and they're sticking around until they find a real human, and that's the implication. So it sort of ends there, and uh, no idea what's going to happen next. And the next book is Alliance by Jerry Altian, and I'll be back on Thursday with this. And he writes the final volume as well, volume 6. But this is the 4th one, so he does 4th and 6th, like William F. Wu did in the previous series, 4 and 6. So fingers crossed. But yeah, this was a better story. I did enjoy it. Again, it doesn't hold together in many ways. There's so many holes in it. Oh, there's one thing that they do that I thought was good. They raised the question. They haven't really answered it properly. Is like, why did Dr. Avery, build this thing, all of robots and, 4 humans, but there's no humans there, and there doesn't seem to be. And Ariel asks him this, and he sort of said, well, that's what the plan was from the beginning, but then he doesn't want it anymore. He wants this, he's created a society of robots, and he thinks it should stay just for robots. But he had to use this aspect of the robots working for humans in order to have them understand and be content, in a sense, to create this city. But because he doesn't want to do it anymore, why does he continue with the charade of creating and refining a architecture and everything for humans? And at the same time, he's not in charge of it anymore. He's given charge over to his son, Derek. And yeah, so there's a little thing, but at least you finally get one sort of, like the sort of elephant in the room that's been there ever right at the beginning, and finally this author has dealt with it, or at least asked the question. So it'll be interesting how that works out. So yeah, so it's it's better, a lot better than the previous book 2, but still it's got a lot of holes in it. The plot doesn't quite work, and there's just a lot of silly stuff in it as well. But it was enjoyable, as I say. It was an enjoyable read, even so. And to try to sort of look at it just perfectly critically as story, plot, and characters, it falls short. But I do like the characters going back. They feel like the characters that we've known in the previous book. I didn't really recognize Derek and Ariel, hardly at all. So it's nice to have them back. And we'll be back next time, book 2. Take care.